I'm recording this video, which is at 4K 60 frames per second on a $7,000 Leica Q3 28mm camera. This camera is expensive. It's capable of 8K video recording, but this is the audio you're getting out of the onboard mic. Let me try to show you how you can improve the mic quality. And now you're listening to the audio that is inputted into the Leica Q3 camera through the DJI Mic Mini, and it costs just about 1% of the Leica Q3 camera. So for just 1% more over the cost of your Leica Q3 camera, you're able to capture quality video and audio at the same time using this setup, and this is the Mic Mini. Let me show you how it works. So the Leica Q3 is capable of fantastic and beautiful photos, and it's even capable of recording 8K video. I'm recording on the Leica Q3, which is paired with a DJI Mic Mini that I'm wearing, and the Mic Mini is actually transmitting to the receiver, which is plugged into the Leica camera using the USB port. So there are no dangling cables at all. So if you take a look at the photos and the videos that I'm showing you on how you attach this, it actually looks very clean, and the setup has no dangling cables, which is wonderful. Now I'm going to quickly run through the feature set of the DJI Mic Mini so that you can have a better idea. Now it is a wireless transmission, and it can go up to 400 meters distance. Of course, that has to be tested, and I think 400 meters is a long stretch. It's almost half a kilometer away, quarter mile, right? And it does do 48 hours of recording if you are using the case to charge it at the same time. The transmitter will last for 11.5 hours on a single charge, and the receiver will last 10.5 hours. So there's a slight discrepancy there, but you know, this kind of timing, this kind of runtime, you are good for the entire day of filming. Now this transmitter itself weighs only 10 grams. So if you can see how I'm wearing it, it's no longer dragging down. Now DJI has a bigger mic. This is capable of 32-bit float recording, and it can record on board as well. So you don't even have to transmit it to any other device. You can just record audio from the DJI mic. But the Mic Mini, it is not capable of doing that. But the downside of this transmitter is that it is a lot heavier, and it does drag down on the clothes if you're just trying to pin it to your clothes. Now this Mic Mini has two levels of noise cancelling. There is the basic and there's a strong. Basic for rooms like this where it is relatively quiet. Strong when you're out in open, maybe there are cars buzzing by, and it does apply stronger noise reduction so you can hear your audio better. Now it also has auto levels limiting, so if it gets too loud, it will actually pull it back itself. The gain is actually adjustable. I have it at a +6 right now. There are 5 levels of gain, all the way from -12 to +12. There are 2 channels. You can actually pair 2 different Mic Mini, which I actually have here. So basically you will be able to get stereo, and one will go to the left and the other will go to the right channel, or you can have a sum audio, which is like dual mono, and it will actually combine the soundtrack from both mics into one single track. Or you can have a safety track, which means to say it will record in stereo, and one of the channel will be 6 dB lower so that it will help avoid clipping should there be any loud sounds. Now when you use the receiver, you are able to do pass-through charging as well. So if you are using the receiver on an Android phone or on the newer iPhones with a USB-C port, you will be able to charge the phone at the same time while you're using the receiver. Now you have another means of wireless connection, which is via Bluetooth 5.3. So you don't even actually need the receiver if you are using a phone that is capable of getting audio in via Bluetooth. Now this actually, without the receiver, can also pair with the DJI Action 4 or the 5 Pro, as well as the Pocket 3. So you don't need any other receiver. It pairs to the camera right away. Now for the 3.5mm audio, it does allow that. So if your camera doesn't have a USB port where you can input USB audio, you are then able to use a cable, a 3.5mm TRS cable, to link from the receiver output into the mic input on your camera, assuming your camera has a 3.5mm mic input. And it also supports auto power on and off in that configuration when you're using the cable. So I've gone through the feature set that you can actually find out on DJI's website and just mouthing it for you so that it's easier for you to reference in a video and have somebody talk to you through. But there are some limitations with this setup which DJI may not be very upfront about. Now, the lightning connector, if you're still using a phone from iPhone 13 and before, you are stuck with a lightning connector. Now, even if you buy the biggest set, the whole entire kit set, with a charging case, you won't get a lightning connector, so you have to buy that separately for about $15 US. Now, I did mention before that there is no onboard recording on the Mic Mini. The DJI Mic and the DJI Mic 2 does have onboard recording. The Mic 2 actually has 32-bit float, so you don't even have to worry about the levels anymore. Now, there is a 12 dB gain or 12 dB reduction that you can set using a dial on the receiver itself. So you are able to control the gain, but the limitation is that there are only several discrete bands. So there are 5, so from -12 to -6 to 0 to +6 to +12, and nothing in between, so the control is not that granular. It does have buttons and it does have dials, but it has no screen to show you, just some LED lights to show they are connected to Mic 1, connected to Mic 2, and that is connected. Now, there are no lavalier mic inputs on this receiver. The receiver is so small, it's physically tiny, right? But there is actually a lavalier input here on the Mic and the Mic 2. There are also no headphone monitors on the receiver itself. The receiver has an output, but it is not for headphone monitoring. The USB mic cannot also be used at the same time when the Leica Photos app is active. So if you're connected to your camera and trying to do remote control of the camera using the Leica Q3, you won't be able to use the USB mic at the same time. This is more a limitation on Leica side than on DJI side. Now, if you want to connect the USB mic, okay, all you need to do is literally to use the USB-C adapter, which is included with your DJI mic, and you just plug it into the USB port, the port that you charge through for the Leica Q3. But when you do that first, you actually may not hear any mic audio. So you do actually have to do some settings. You do have to go to the camera settings under the menu, the 4th tab of the menu, go into USB connection and toggle the USB microphone on. So what I have here is that I bought the whole kit set, right, which comes with 2 transmitters and 1 receiver. Now, when do you need 2 transmitters? Well, when you are going on travels, maybe you're trying to record, you're going with your better half, and one of you can hold onto each mic and you will be able to record the sound. So you don't actually have to physically get very close to the camera in order to record. Now, the onboard mic on most cameras, not that they're bad. The Leica Q3 suffers from the same limitation. The mic on board the camera is at the camera. So if you are far away from the camera, it's not going to be able to capture audio very well. So if you are far away, you kind of like have to bump up the sensitivity on the onboard mic in order to capture your voice from far away. But the sensitivity also means that you are capturing more noise and more hiss and buzz from all around you, right? But this, you are actually only just about 4 to 6 inches away from your voice, so it's able to capture that sound without throwing up the gain too high, and it will then cut out all the other sounds because you are not setting the gain too high. So as you know, USB-C is actually reversible port, so you can actually plug into the camera either direction, but the problem is that the Leica Q3 has a flap cover over the USB-C port, so it kind of limits the way and the direction that you're going to be plugging in the receiver. And for that, it does mean that the receiver is going to stick out just a little bit below the camera because there's a knob, the volume, the gain knob on the receiver. So if you are not using any casing, it would mean that there is actually a pressure point when you put the camera on the table, and it will push up and it might create some stress point at the USB-C port. Or what you can do is to just use a cage, and when the cage is on, it actually lifts the camera up a little bit and the knob is not getting in the way. Now, I mentioned how to set it up. I probably need to go into some details on the Leica firmware version. The Leica firmware version, you do need version 3.0 on the Leica camera. Now, this was launched in December of 2024, and that enabled the USB port for audio input with a USB mic, like this setup that we have right here. So after you update the firmware to at least 3.0 and above, you have to go into the settings menu, and on the camera settings menu, you do go into, let me see where that is. Yes, you go to the camera settings, then you go to the USB-C settings, and you see a USB microphone, and you enable it. Now, this mic is omnidirectional, meaning to say that it will pick up sound from all over the place. Like I said, there is a noise cancelling function, basic or strong, and how you actually set this is actually you can pair your receiver with the phone. You can just plug it in, launch the DJI Mimo app. Once you launch the DJI Mimo app, it will detect that you have the receiver plugged in, or the mic is actually linked to the phone via Bluetooth, and you can then perform some settings. So the Mimo app is great for performing settings which you normally won't actually have to touch, and you can actually update the firmware of both the mic as well as the receiver. If you're connected via the receiver via the USB-C port, the update will actually update everything all at once. Otherwise, you got to pair Bluetooth one by one, and you will update the firmware one by one. Now, how much does this Mic Mini cost? The Mic Mini is actually cheap. The cheapest configuration that will work here, you do need the receiver with the USB-C dongle, as well as this mic here. So a one mic setup, one transmitter setup, and one receiver setup, it costs $69 US. So that is the configuration that you can get. Now, if you want the charging case, which enables automatic pairing every time you put in and take out the receiver and the transmitter at the same time, this actually also allows you to charge. Now, this setup will cost you $139. Now, both this configuration will have a USB-C adapter, which you can then use with this setup. Now, there are other things that you can do with it, right? So if you look at this photo right here, you can see that the receiver can be mounted on a Sony camera. Now, the Sony camera, they have a, what do you call that? The MI port, right? Multi-interface, multimedia interface port. I don't know, I can't remember what it is called. But basically what it does is it converts the MI port into a USB port, and you can then put the Mic Mini receiver on top of your camera without any cables dangling. Now, I don't think any cameras out there will support a Bluetooth mic, so the other way is to use the TRS 3.5mm cable, which means to say you have things dangling all over the place, wires hanging all over the place, which is not a great setup. So this setup here is really, really good. It's just very convenient, very clean setup, and you can just pop it in your bag without worrying about when you pull out the camera, the wire is going to snag something or the joint is going to break. So if you are keen in this mic setup, you can also use it for a laptop, where you can then use this mic as a laptop input for your Zoom calls, for your Teams call, whatever you desire it to be. Now, if you have any questions on this setup, do let me know in the comment section down below. If you have trouble setting up with your Leica Q3 camera, let me know and I will help you out with that if you post the comments in the section below. And I will see you in my next video.